KyuuRanger. I'm Vashi V, and I am joined with...
Decade.
The Little King.
And Rye.
And today we're talking about Uchuu Sentai KyuuRanger episode 48, the final episode. So, where we left off, Donarmage absorbed everyone in the galaxy, gaining a new form and incredible strength. The Rangers refuse to acknowledge him as the galaxy, because, he's nuts. They rush into battle on Star Change while attacking him. It was pretty cool. The narrator interrupts with the legend of the KyuuRangers, but it's been updated to show Don Armage's new form instead of just the hologram, and he mentions 12 saviors. So, yeah, definitely a strong start. What did you guys think?
Jumping straight into the action, updating the main intro. All around a pretty good start, I'd say.
Yeah, it definitely sets us up for what's to come.
Yeah, it was a really good intro to the episode. Like, the fact that... It's one thing I've been liking for the last couple of episodes is it's really not dropped us off any type of pacing with the episodes from one to the next. Is it literally just picks up, like, a few seconds prior to where the last episode dropped off.
Yeah, it definitely has been non-stop. So during the fight, the Rangers damage Don Armage, but he instantly heals and knocks the Rangers on their feet. He relishes in his immortality and the eternal suffering of those he absorbed, and he knocks the Rangers out of their transformations. But Lucky still believes in his luck. Don Armage reveals that he was born from the most unlucky life forms in the galaxy. All the suffering of the galaxy manifested as him. Thank you, because that's the one problem I was having with this final arc, is like, what the hell is Don Armage? Why is he so invincible? And he just gave us the answer, so yeah, awesome. The suffering he creates will perpetuate his existence eternally. And he uses the suffering to torment the Rangers. But Lucky refuses to give in and stands, optimistic that all they have to do is restore hope to weaken Don Armage. Pretty smart. He calls out to everyone absorbed and gives them words of encouragement along with the other Rangers, each recalling something valuable they learned along their journey. Wow, this was an awesome scene. Pretty well done.
Yeah, I gotta agree. Like, we finally figured out where Don Armage originated from. I couldn't help but think, if he came from then, what the hell was Tsurugi's time like? Because it must have been shit enough for him to be made, right? Anyway, yeah, I loved that scene. It just showed the amount of growth and power these people have gained in, God, a year now. Must have been. But, right, I'm sorry, but I gotta make this joke. I could not help but think that whole damn time, where's Wizard when you need him? Because, I mean, they coined, like, half of the main terms he uses. So, I'm sorry for all you non-Wizard fans or those who haven't seen it yet, but my point is, I had a lot of fun watching that. I mean, despite the fact it was a point to kill them with despair, but point still stands.
This opening, like, gambit to the battle, where everyone shows off their own unique skills, is something that the series has much needed for a while now. Well, or at least, like, for a good part of it, where everyone kind of fought the samey. It was a breath of fresh air to see everyone show off their own unique skills for this scene, even if it's just a little glimpse of it. It's probably one of the best moments in this whole final battle, actually. And then everyone saying, like how they overcame their own weaknesses through their own experiences was just beautiful. It shows you really how far they've come and how close they've come together.
Like, I like the fact that it finally explained where Don Armage came from. Um, Not so much because I was curious about it, but just the fact that they even touched on it at all, because that's something that's kind of been getting overlooked lately. With the Sentai villains is any type of origin whatsoever. Um, because with like Zhuoger, it was literally, oh, they're just some evil group who basically is, for lack of a better term, an evil game show.
Like, so Genis was just like a collection of single-celled organisms.
Right. Well, I mean, they explained literally how he came into being. It was just one of those. It was just more of there was no ambition for him beyond, hey, let's create an evil game show.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, it was nothing. Like, he was just angry.
It's like, at least with Genis, he actually has proper motivation for a villain, even though we're technically just now fully getting it for Don Armage himself. We understand why now he's trying to do what he's doing, because it's literally what he is entirely. He's literally just anger, sadness, and despair. Which, hey, good job pointing that out to kids. If you're sad too much, you'll create an evil monster who will take over the galaxy. That was a nice touch.
Lol.
um, the start of the fight was nice. It was nice to see like everybody's, for lack of a better term, solo fighting. Because, like Rice says, like throughout the series, pretty much everybody kind of fought samey. And then he's like, there were rare moments throughout the series where you got to see like abilities of how they each fight individually, and this one kind of capitalized on it very well. I loved the fact that, despite the fact that it was basically a wizard speech, that Lucky wasn't the one to give the speech. He just started it, and everybody else finished. Like, with the way these usually go, from what I've seen, is the Red will give his speech, the complete speech, and then everybody else will kind of just chime in with something that ties into it. This one was literally, he started talking and basically everybody else just interrupted him. And took over the speech, which was phenomenal. And I absolutely loved it for a series that has kind of been way too focused on Lucky.
Yep, I think everyone would agree with that. So yeah, let's see. Their passionate words give Don Armage's victims hope and break his hold over the Rangers. The Rangers roll call before star changing. Goosebumps. That was awesome. The Rangers attack with all their finishers. Don Armage is defeated and turns giant. So yeah, before I move on, roll calling before they star change. What do you guys think?
Few angels we have heard on high. Oh my god. It was so badass. I mean, like, it was even better than a helmetless one, in my opinion, because seeing them in the CG backgrounds, well, admit, I'm not fond of the CG backgrounds all the time, still fucking amazing. So, I loved it. Although, this was something we talked about behind the scenes, and I'll let you guys have your fill on that, so. But in any case, I adored it.
It was phenomenally done. Everyone hit their poses perfectly. This is the most important roll call of any Sentai since they started doing the helmetless ones. Like the ones where the actors themselves pull it off. And pull it off this group did. Some of them don't do it. Like in Shinkenger, a couple of them did like minor versions of their poses because they couldn't do the full ones. I'm glad that in this one everyone was able to hit theirs.
Like, for me, it's like, this works a lot better than the helmetless one. Actually, if they're, because all their roll calls involve CG. So them having like helmetless roll calls, for a lot of them, it tends to look really jarring with the CG. This just looked phenomenal. Seeing everybody pull their pose exactly as it's done was fantastic. And like Ryan was saying, it's like this is hard for most series to pull off because a lot of the actors can't do the exact poses as their suit actors.
And
Watching,
sometimes when they are doing like just the helmetless, they're wearing the bodysuit. The actors aren't used to wearing that tight of a suit.
so it makes them move funny because they don't have the same freedom of movement as the suit actors because they're used to the suits.
I.e. Champ.
But like with this one, is like just watching the actual, human characters. To use that term loosely because it's basically a collection of aliens. There's only one human, or two humans. I'm sorry, Sugity is human too. Actually, pull off their their henshin poses in such a way that if this was all anybody had seen for it, and then seen this first, and then watched the actual roll call, it very well seems like they're actually in the suits doing the poses. Especially Hami. Hami nailed hers.
And hers is one of the more complicated ones.
Yeah, because with the fluidity of the movement, it's very. I hate to use this parallel, but it's very numb for Dangerous Zombie. It's really like a really fluid movement. It's hard to nail, and she nailed it perfectly. It was great. And King had brought up the subtitles. I am by no means a professional subtitler. I don't subtitle anything, but I do understand certain nuances of subtitling things. The number one thing you don't do is you don't translate names. This is something that's been driving me nuts watching them on, because everybody here watches Fansubs, because none of us live where this stuff airs, nor do any of us speak the language for the most part.
Japanese is hard.
It is a very, very hard language.
As someone who's trying to learn it, I can vouch for that.
It's very hard to learn, and it's especially the rules, because it's not like English. English has some of the most fucked up rules ever. So knowing English rules and then trying to go to another language is very difficult. And Japanese is one of the hardest ones to do so. But one of the clear rules is you don't translate names. So if I go to Japan at any point, my name is Chris. Does not matter if there is a Japanese version of the name Chris. My name is Chris. My name does not translate because you don't translate names like that. So watching subtitles when they do roll calls that have it as, for example, Shishi Red. That character's name is Shishi Red. You don't translate it, despite the fact that Shishi translates as Leo. And it drives me nuts. And it ends up causing issues with people doing podcasts and stuff like that, or even just people in general who are watching the same show on multiple platforms. Because you get, well, who the fuck are you talking about? Because here's the list of characters I have, and they're all different names than what these other groups have. It's just consistency is more or less what I'm striving for.
And that's a problem with watching fan subs for anything. Like, whatever group you pick, you're going to want to stick with them simply because you are knowing what they're talking about. If you try to watch from someone else, they might translate something differently. Which is why I tend to be a little picky about fan subs that I watch.
Like back before it became an issue of advertising and stuff like that, I was using Kiss Asian to watch the episodes, so I could at least, because I wasn't getting episodes ahead of time to be able to do the podcast initially. So I'd watch them on Kiss Asian so I could at least know what I'm be ready for the podcast. but character names were different. Like there were episodes in this one where literally an entire character had an entirely different name because they had Americanized the name, and you're not supposed to do that. Or you get the issue of, like for TokuRanger, is it right or is it light?
His name is Right, though.
Right, his name is Right. Or like Parado. Is it Parado or is it Pallid?
I don't even get that one. Like, alright, you want to make an argument for Bloodstalk or Bloodstalk? Fine. But his name is straight up Paradox. Why would you think it was Pallid?
Well, it comes down to with the pronunciation. I actually have an understanding of why it happened. If you spell it out Pardo, because that's how it's pronounced, the R could be transferred to an L, and the O dropped because the D sound is do. So it would, if doing that, if to, for lack of a better term, Americanize the name, because anytime that D is the last syllable, it always has that O on it. If not for the fact that his entire character name is fucking Paradox, it would be acceptable.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, his writer name is straight up Paradox.
But, and that's another thing with, I believe, I know Kiss Asian had done it, they changed it to ParaDX.
That's because that's what Toei officially romanized it as.
Right. Which I understand that.
TV Nihon just chose to ignore that shit because it was dumb.
Yes, it is very dumb. I mean, I get why they did the whole DX thing, is because that's what they do for their fucking rider toys. Is most of the belts are DX belts. So it was kind of a play on that as well. But it just, continuity between fan subs is highly, highly fucking annoying, especially when it comes to talking about episodes and trying to reference characters and just the over Americanization of the subtitles. It just aggravates me, and I apologize for getting on this rant because it really doesn't do anything.
Let's see, where are we? So yeah, the Rangers deploy Kyuutamajin laser beams, pretty much. But I guess the one cool thing about this laser beam fight is that the galaxy pretty much fills Kyuutamajin with the power of the constellations. So instead of them just popping up in the background, they actually give the mech power. So that was kind of neat. Don Armage is defeated and everyone's set free, but of course he believes he's just going to possess someone and continue to survive. So he pushes Lucky into space to kill him before taking his body. But Lucky refuses to let him gain control and is luckily saved by a meteor storm from the Leo system. And then they all destroy Don Armage and his essence for good. Yay. Yeah, I kind of just glossed over it, but that was a pretty awesome scene with Lucky and, well, basically just callbacks to the first episode. It was pretty awesome. What'd you guys think?
All the callbacks. Oh my god, I love that. I mean, I'm gonna gloss over the rest of the battle, to be honest, because, yeah, that was pretty much the Kamehameha battles all over again. But, for the most part, I liked the constellations in the background. That was cool. But, oh my god, like, Lucky going out into space again, surviving again. But the meteors was still, after a year, still freaking badass. I love that so much. So, yeah, all in all, While I will admit the beam battle was a bit lackluster, damn it, did it end amazingly.
I loved that All-Star Crash that they did. I just love the All-Star Crash in general. It's a great finisher, and I love hearing them all come together to say it. Uh, and then for the mech battle, if you listen to our earliest podcast on this franchise, you may recall us complaining a few times about how the mech battles have been little more than just laser beam fights. It seems almost appropriate that the final mech battle is just one giant laser beam fight. Uh, Although it did feel like it was a bit more intense this time. And then we get Lucky being launched. First off, what a good way to because you can signal out the red as being like the important one without actually making him so heavily focused. And what a good way to do that they showed here. Like, Darnamagi decides, alright, I'll just take over someone else's body. And he chooses Lucky. Because why wouldn't he? Lucky was the reason that, like, his attempt on Tsurugi failed. It's like, yeah, you seem like you're the strong one here. And as soon as he brought him to space, I knew. It's like, yeah, I've seen this before. I know what happens next. Lucky summons Meteor.
Like I'm glad they brought that entire thing full circle, because it was literally our introduction. Let's summon a meteor. It was amazing. The initial beam struggle with them and their as rangers before the mechs was, I did enjoy it, even though it annoys the hell out of me that that's what it devolved into. It was still really well done. And then the biggest issue I had with the mech beam struggle was it basically just seemed, okay, we're not screaming hard enough to win. Other than that, it was the intensity of it was amazing for this entire episode. And honestly, as much as this particular thing annoys the hell out of me for the series overall with the beam struggles, it was really, really well done and seemed very appropriate for this episode. And yeah, it was nice to see Lucky riding down the fucking meteor storm again.
I also like that Hame also knew what was coming next. Decade?
Yep, sorry. So 2 years later, Kotaro, Raptor, and Stinger continue to patrol the peaceful galaxy in the battleship. They set course for the opening of Spada's restaurant. Sho, Champ, Tsurugi, Balance, Naga, and Hami are there celebrating already. Well, actually, I think I got that wrong. It wasn't the opening. He won like an award or something.
Yeah, he won an award for 9 stars.
Oh, okay.
Which in the universe is perfect.
Yes. So his restaurant won an award. So everyone's there celebrating. Except for Lucky and Gato. But while they're kind of making small talk, you learn that Tsurugi was reinstated as the president of the Space Federation. Champ is on a 99 win streak in pro wrestling. Sho is now Supreme Commander, but as usual, he's slacking off. Hami is now in college, studying to be a teacher. Naga and Balance hunt for treasures stolen by Dark Matter. Raptor and Spada share a cute moment as well. Lucky and Garu are traveling the galaxy, despite Lucky now being a king. We cut to them on Lucky's scooter, and it's pretty much broken, so they're going at like 2 miles an hour. So he decides to test his luck and punches the controls, and they crash land right outside of the restaurant to get there on time. Episode end. I think probably my favorite part of this was just Naga being able to have I don't know, a calm moment, because yeah, he got his emotions back quite some time ago, but for the most part they've been kind of sadness and anger and stuff. So yeah, it was nice just having him have a casual chat with Balance and everyone. But yeah, overall, I loved everyone's new roles. Thoughts?
Oh my god. Okay. This is where I pretty much gushed because I loved this so much. First of all, I didn't even expect it to jump like 2 years later. That's insane. And seeing everybody, like, how they've grown. Stinger's a commander now? That is awesome! Like, you would never think that, well, until you see it, of course, that he would become the commander, you know? I honestly feel like he earned it. That was awesome. And, like, seeing how everybody grew, Spada having his restaurant and his Raptors little moments, of course. Seeing everybody doing what they love and evolving over the time they left, and of course the callback with Lucky crashing the ship. I loved that. And Garu looks so adorable in his spacesuit. I'm sorry, I just cannot get over that. Harry did look cute in her new outfit, though. If I do have one nitpick, it is small, I'll admit. I cannot get used to Tsurugi in a suit. I'm sorry, but I just prefer him in a leather coat, It just suits him better, I think. But in any case of the matter, I am very happy with how it ended. And I was crying, I will admit, because this is probably the last time in a long while we'll see anyone. So, yeah, I was I was very torn with this episode with the emotions, but I loved it.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting a 2 year jump either, but it makes sense. The galaxy isn't going to be restored overnight. Everywhere has a lot of recovering to do. And it's good to see everyone moving on to their lives that they talked about. Spada opens his restaurant. The BN thieves are stealing back treasure that was taken by Dark Matter. Hame is studying to become a teacher at college. That's great. Everyone has lives that they're moving on to now. The show may be done, but the stories are still continuing. It feels weird to say goodbye. That next week we're going to be talking about an entirely new series.
Don't remind me.
Do you have anything else?
I think that's it for now.
But yeah, the 2 year jump I wasn't expecting, but it does make sense. I was very, very surprised to see Stinger as a commander, because I figured by this point, show would would, for lack of a better term, get boosted up the chain. But I had expected Suguri to take over as the commander of the KyuuRanger, because they kind of touched on that throughout the series, with him wanting to take over as the commander. So for it to be Stinger standing there, is like, as soon as it flipped over to Stinger, I'm like, that's not Suguri. Okay, that's awesome. I do agree with King that Suguri looks so weird professional. He looks better with the loose hair and the red leather jacket, because that's all we've ever seen him in. The fact that everybody's is moving on and progressing with their lives was amazing. I felt Garu's helmet was an unnecessary thing to add into his character, because it just makes it seem like he's still kind of a joke. Though my ultimate gripe would be, you would think that a king would have a better mode of transportation.
Yeah, actually, that's something I forgot to mention. Why weren't they using their Voyagers?
Maybe they can't.
Kotaro was using his.
Oh yeah, he was.
He's still with the KyuuRangers. Everybody else moved off.
Lucky is literally doing this as a KyuuRanger.
Yeah, well, they can't always afford to use the Voyagers. You know how much those things cost to get gas?
They ran out of CG budget for them.
They must have, because as far as I can tell, those things are magic.
Well, yeah, at this point, they are literally magic. I did half expect once Lucky was going to crash, I did kind of half expect him to land in the middle of the restaurant. Because it seemed to be on par with how they would treat that. So I was kind of shocked that they didn't. I do like the fact that they're pushing Spada and Hame's relationship without, pushing it.
Plot twist.
You mean Raptor?
Yeah, Raptor and Spada.
Sorry, Zero.
Love triangle, OMG.
But I like the fact that Raptor was kind of encouraged to try basically to profess her feelings for Spada at the end of it, and she still kind of didn't. There's still kind of that haphazard, shy, cute thing. It was very, very cute and touching. So I kind of loved it. It's like, as much as the series had started off annoying me, I'm sad to see it go.
Yeah, I can agree to the love thing. The crush was established early on and then wasn't touched for a while. I'm glad that we're seeing something for it.
But like the fact that it's not just her and Spada that realize it, that others have picked up on it too, was the best.
Should we move on to final thoughts?
Yes, oh dang. Final thoughts for the overall series, I guess.
This episode and the series.
Yeah. Well, episode, it was a good finisher. Even some like really good Sentai series have kind of weak final episodes, but this was really good. And overall, I'd say the series was definitely redeemed itself. More than redeemed itself, I'd say. So yeah, that's a nice surprise. I definitely like the series, the characters, the toy gimmicks, mechs are pretty much the only thing I'll take points off of. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to the next, as they say in the preview, deluxe Sentai series.
God, where do I start? The episode itself, I mean, like I said, a bit lackluster in the middle, but overall, just a fun and honestly clean way to end the show. The show itself, I will admit I do have a slight bias on, because this was the first Sentai I ever watched entirely week to week. And this Sentai just holds a big spot in my heart. And it does have its ups and downs. I will permit that. And while there are problems here and there, I still adore this Sentai so much. And I am very, very sad to see it go. But I want to still smile because it happened. And hey, now I can watch every episode whenever I want. So that's something. And I will admit, I am very excited about Cops and Robbers next week. And yes, that's what I'm calling it, because the full name is way too much of a mouthful to say often. But yeah, while I am very excited to see the new Sentai, I am very sad to see this go.
This episode was a good finale. And I haven't actually seen the past two Sentai, although I did see KyuuRanger's final episode. From what I do know, this has been the best finale since ToQger. Uh, I'm glad that the series ended as a strong note as it did. The first arc is lackluster and unfocused, uh, even though it thinks it's very focused. Do I recommend this Sentai? Yes. Get past the first 12 episodes and just get into the franchise. When the main villain becomes a common rider for a while, that's when the series gets good. Uh, Overall, I do think that the prior two episodes of this one were just better episodes. I don't dislike this episode, and it does feel weird knowing that next week it's gonna be something different. But hey, two Sentai in one show. Let's see what that brings us.
Like, overall for a series, was a great series for what it's worth. Like I said, the first 10 or 12 episodes were really, really rough because they were so unfocused. Once it got into the arc for Stinger, is literally where this series fully started to. It got its traction, and took off with it. Which I was very, very glad with because I watched the majority of Ninja, and I have half expected this to turn into Ninja in space. Because to anybody who hasn't watched Ninja, it's an alright show, but it's kind of crap. And that's my opinion. Is Ninja is very lackluster as a Sentai, and that's kind of how this series had started out. But it got amazing, and this ending is very, very fitting with the fact that it had picked up. So I recommend the series, but try to get past the first couple of episodes, and it starts to pick up. Uh, I'm looking forward to next week for the new Sentai. I'm not looking forward to doing the intro. I have a hard enough time just getting one Sentai name out. Now I have to get two.
Just
God
pick one.
damn it!
Just pick one. Lupin Ranger or Pato Ranger.
Or if you want to be technical, call it Cops and Robbers Sentai Edition.
I'm probably just going to drop it to Lupin versus Pat Ranger.
Yeah, you might hear me say Pato Ranger because that just feels more natural to say.
Fair enough.
Yes, actually it does. But yeah, I'm probably not going to name off the entire Sentai name for this series next week.
But you know what?
That's just a little much.
We'll do it. We'll do it a couple of times. We'll see you when we talk about Kaito Sentai Lupin Ranger versus Keisatsu Sentai Pot Ranger.
And just remember, everybody, it's a series, not a movie.
Thanks for listening, everyone.
See you on the thief side. Later, taters.
We'll see you next time.
See you next week. Enjoy the ride.